This guy beside you, who you think is an idiot, is doing better, and you can't make it happen. Why is that? People look at success the wrong way in the fact that they're like, I'm going to buy these courses. By the time it gets to you, it's outdated, it's degraded through 2 or 3 filters of how they perceive the information. And when it breaks, there's nobody there to tell you how to fix it. If none of the calls are run by them, or if the salesperson is showing you all the calls and it's all names you don't know, and the whole thing is a personal brand based on a skill they had, huge red flag.
Welcome to the Bulletproof Entrepreneur Show, where our goal is to uncover the truth about business and introduce you to the people, tools, and strategies to make your mind, life, and money bulletproof. In this episode, I sat down with my good friend, Cody Getchell. Cody is the CEO of Custom Creatives, a full-service graphic design and digital marketing company who I've had the pleasure of working with for over 2 years. In this episode, we discuss how he and his partner started from scratch to build the #1 digital marketing agency in Los Angeles and a top 500 digital marketing agency in the world by Clutch, and how you can use the same principles for success in growing your own business. If at any point as you're watching, if this seems helpful to you, just tap that like button. It'll help the YouTube algorithm show this video to more people. That said, let's dive in. My Canadian brother.
What's up?
Welcome to the States, eh?
Thanks. I'm having a great time.
Excellent. So I appreciate you coming down, dude. I've been really looking forward to jamming with you as a guy that I've worked with a lot of people, and a lot of people that I've worked with hasn't gone so well. And there's not a whole lot of people that I've ever worked with for over 2 years straight, and have the relationship continue to get better as time goes on. So you're one of the very few people that has been able to tolerate me. So congratulations, first off.
Just give myself a pat on the back. That was
fun. And out of the gate, I'm curious. I want to go into a little bit of background, because you have ended up here as a person who does what they say they're going to do, performs well, actually gives a shit. I'm curious, what in your backstory and your background has led to those qualities and characteristics?
Oh man, what's led to that specifically? Probably being messed around with and fucked over a lot by different partnerships and different people along the way. Yeah, I mean, look, I put myself through university originally by flipping cars.
Oh, really?
Auctions and that kind of stuff, and I worked it all the way up to owning a small dealership and a detailing bay in the back. And when I left, I was supposed to have that. I sold that for like $100K or so to my business partner at the time. And he was supposed to do the marketing. He's taking it all over. I'm like, oh, cool, payday, move to Vancouver, start the next chapter. I got about 5 of that, and he ran it right into the ground. In fact, he went over to Halifax. There's a casino there, not a lot of those in the Maritimes. Spent all the money, blew it all, immediately drove the whole thing to the ground, like literally 3 months in. And so, I left from a perspective of that. And then when I got into it, when I started doing marketing agency stuff, it wasn't really like it is now. You have to compare yourself to other people. Right? Like, I'm going to be better than the guy that burned you. Back then it was walking around and trying to be like, hey, you should be on Facebook. You need to be on Google. You need to do all these things. Right. And so as it grew, though, it started to become what it is now, and it started to be competitive. And I started to realize that most of these people just want to build a relationship. And as we've grown bigger and bigger and bigger, like I've been doing this for 10 years, and me and Rahul been running the GSD thing now for 3-ish or something like that. And it just became more and more obvious that most people in this industry, because of the high margins and because of the shit people are telling you to do, their whole point is just like, I'm going to get this into some really cheap VA's hands, and then I'm going to not touch this again. And I'm going to move on from it, and it's going to be really profitable for me, and they're going to do most of the work, and I'm just going to move on. Like, I complain so much about, like, there's coaches that tell you just outsource everything, right? And it ends up in relationships like with you. Like, you might remember this. What was the thing you said to me a little while ago? Like, Cody, how do I get you to just do it? And I was like, I mean, to be honest, my answer was right now you can't. Yeah. But you were like, no.
Sure you can.
How do I get you to do it? And that really, like, I think everything's been even better since then, right? Because it became what it became, and we were able to move on. But it's because, to have the person who knows the shit do it means that they get the insight for when it goes wrong. Yeah. For when something isn't working. Something as simple as like, Facebook keeps messing around with us. What else do we do? It's like, okay, we got to multiply. We got to try out a bunch of platforms and see which one sticks. And then we expand. And so now we're on at least 2, and we'll be trying out a 3rd one here soon.
Yeah, 100%. And for those who have no idea what the fuck you're talking about right out of the gate, for context, for those who have no idea, they're watching this for like, I thought this was about success, and here you are talking about fucking ads and shit. What, for context, what do you do?
So let's scale this back. Yeah. So that was the reason and where we ended up.
Yeah.
What I do now is I run a marketing agency. One of the top ones, we won a bunch of Clutch Awards a few years in a row at Custom Creative. So I'm a senior partner there, 50-50 split. And we do a coaching program called Get Shit Done, which is all about teaching other people to do that, run their own agency, run their own coaching business. And it's really about, we give you the tools, but we hold you accountable, and we kind of hold your hand and kick your ass to make sure you're doing stuff. And I think success, which is what we're talking about today, really is about, I tell a metaphor all the time, right? 2 people go to a gym, right? Same tools, same strategies, same everything, same motivation, body type, nutrition, everything is exactly the same. One guy comes out ripped, body of his dreams. The other guy comes out exactly where he was before, like 3 months in. He quits and he never goes back. And I always ask people, like, what is the difference between those 2 people? And they give all kinds of answers. The one ate better, one just went harder every single day, one went more hours. I'm like, no, I told you, they went the same time and they had the same tools. The difference is one had a secret weapon, a coach that gave a shit and held him accountable and showed him how to use the tools, a personal trainer that actually went in with him and was like, okay, here's what you do. And I think people look at success the wrong way, in the fact that they're like, I'm going to buy these courses, and then when I do it and the idiot beside me, because they always think that, they're like, this guy's not as smart as me. I mean, we ran an ad one time just like that. This guy beside you, who you think is an idiot, is doing better, and you can't make it happen. Right? Why is that?
Yeah. And so your answer to that question is, to be clear, what?
Pick the right person to be by your side. Have a mentor, not a course. Yeah. Right. And also, hold yourself accountable. Create an accountability pod. Create a situation in which you have to succeed. Right. The other thing is, I do this. I don't know. I'd ask you this question too. We make a lot of money now, but I artificially make myself poor. So I make sure that all the time I feel it, even though I don't have to.
Yeah. How do you do that?
Invest most of the money that comes in into longer term plays. So I have a longer term timeline on most things, and so I get rid of most of it. Keep a buffer so you're not being an idiot, but have a long term play always, so that you're stretching yourself and always going after that next thing.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. There's a lot of places I want to go. Let's sit here with the mentor thing though. Especially now, it's 2023, March 2023. And I would say going back to maybe like 2015, 16 is when like the Ty Lopez, type of the birth of the online coaching. I know it was before that as well, but like that was kind of,
look at like the curve of innovation and adoption. That was when it started.
That was, So now you have a whole bunch of people who are quote mentors, right? And so I agree with you in you got to be around people that have the results that you want and have them be able to at least give you hints along the way. But now, how do you sift through the bullshit and find somebody who's legit?
My personal thing is make sure they're doing what they say they're doing right now. Right. And
how can you make sure of that?
To be honest, we still get burned. We invest 6 figures a year minimum now in different stuff. It's usually skills-based specific stuff. And so like if I invested recently in a couple of different people. One was to take over groups and go make that a little bit better. And the other was for Instagram shoutouts. Before we did that, we didn't just sit with the sales team. We told them, look, we're buyers. It's going to be a paid in full. We just need to know you're doing the thing you're doing. So show us some shit. Yeah. One of them we knew who he was, and he took over some good friends of ours groups, and they were making money. Their engagement went up. Cool. You're doing the thing. I can see you're doing the thing. Let's go with it. And the other guy was also, I can see that he's constantly doing the shoutouts, constantly moving that along. And so we went with both of them, and one was a success and one wasn't. That's always going to happen. Yeah. But you just got to make sure, because there's a lot of people who did it before. Yeah. Right? And 2 things happen. They'll do it before, they'll have a big success, and then they'll stop doing it and they'll just sell the stuff, because doing it might have been successful, but selling the stuff is more profitable. So they end up slowly migrating their time over to the info without still practicing.
Sure.
Then they'll do what I said at the beginning, and they'll give it to their subordinates, and then you might as well just be buying a template. If you're listening to secondary or tertiary information, you might as well just watch the YouTube video and try and do it yourself, because they're not going to have, again, the insight for when it breaks. They're not going to be able to progress when something doesn't go right.
Yeah. So how can you, like, what are some of the red flags that you look for that are like, because there's a lot of people that look like they're doing the thing, that look like they have the result, right? And the level of investigation, even like you said, me too, you do a level of investigation, looks good, sounds good, feels good. It's not good.
Yeah.
So what are the red flags that are like, that you look for, that you would warn people about?
First, I'd like to preempt that by saying you're going to be a successful entrepreneur. You need to take swings at the bat. Right? Pretend you're in the MLB now. Okay.
Yeah.
The entrepreneur of the world's the same way. You're going to take a bunch of swings. A few of them are going to miss, but when you hit the home run, it's so much better than anything else in life you could do. So it's really important to be okay with striking out every now and then, because when you hit that home run, there's nothing else in life that can move you leaps and bounds forward like entrepreneurship when you actually smash it.
Tell me, why do you say that?
Well, 5 years in purgatory. So when I moved out here, I said I've been doing this for, 11 or 12 now. When I first started doing this, I mean, I thought I was doing great. They migrated between 5 and 20K a month, which is good. I understand that, but it was slow. And then I did the thing you always do, right? Lost a big ass client right around there. And it was, I was actually in the middle of Europe. We'll get into that story.
What year? How long ago?
2015.
Okay.
16.
How old are you? I forget.
32.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that happened. I was right in the middle of Italy, lost a big client, spent a bunch of money to get to Italy. And then anyway, that's a whole other thing. But what actually jumped me from there was getting out of my own head. So, I went to university. I got honors in marketing. I actually got double honors, marketing and accounting.
Wow.
And I was like, cool, I must be really good at this. Also, I owned a dealership, so I must know how to do things. I can do all this stuff. So I moved out here. I was like, I'm good. And I got up to 20K a month. I'm like, cool, I must be really great. But when I realized I don't know what I don't know, and I think that's a mature thing. You come out of school, you do kind of okay, but then you take a couple of hits, you get knocked down, and you either, as an entrepreneur, get back up and realize, oh, I'm an idiot. That's right. Life had to remind me I'm an idiot. Okay, cool. So go learn from people who are doing better than you. And that happened to coincide with, like you said, that's right around the time when all the coaching programs started going off. And so I started learning skills. I was like, okay, we need to do high value skills. I need to realize I don't know what I don't know. I need to get a lot better at what I'm doing so they don't fire me ever. That starts with selling and migrates into, for me, was Facebook ads. And then, yeah.
Are you still using manual spreadsheets to track the sales in your online coaching or agency business? Or worse, not tracking at all? If so, I'd like to invite you to check out Teddy, a brand new data tracking system specifically designed to scale high-ticket online businesses at any revenue level. Teddy combines all your marketing, sales, and financial data together in one place, makes it easy to read, and has AI that tells you and your team how to grow. Plus, it integrates with the CRMs and softwares that you already use. Hundreds of industry leaders, including Brandon Carter, Elliot Hulse, Justin Saunders, Casey Shipp, have already made the switch to Teddy. And for a limited time, you can click the link in the description for a free instant demo. Now, let's get back to the show. So the question was red flags that you see in terms of like evaluating who's legit and who's not. I want to touch back on the selling thing, but what are some red flags? Bring that one in for a landing for me.
You never see the coach. That's a huge red flag to me. They have a huge wall up in front of them. They're the amazing person. They're really good at what they're doing. So screw you.
See them where? Like the pre-purchasing.
Even, pre-purchasing, or like if you buy or you do, like a lot of coaches do these trial runs now. If none of the calls are run by them, or if the salesperson is showing you all the calls and it's all names you don't know, and the whole thing is a personal brand based on a skill they had, huge red flag.
Gotcha.
Huge red flag.
Why?
Because that usually tells me they're cashed out. They're not doing the thing anymore, and that they've handed down old information to employees. So it's like when you make a copy of something digitally. If I make a copy of a copy of a copy, it degrades. By the time it gets to you, it's outdated. It's degraded through 2 or 3 filters of how they perceive the information. And when it breaks, there's nobody there to tell you how to fix it. They might have a list of things where it's like, you do this, you do that, you do that, but watch what happens and how much they scramble when you run out of those things. Because they're not actually, they don't know what they're doing. right? Are we swearing on this thing?
Oh yeah.
All right.
It's a bulletproof entrepreneur show.
They're doing.
Yeah. There you go.
All right.
Yeah.
They're ruining it, and it's a huge investment. A lot of these programs, right?
Yeah.
It's okay to miss, but like you still want to be making moves. Like every time even when it's a miss for us, I have one or two things that I grab and I disseminate amongst our team, and then we can progress. If we don't do that, it's going to be a hard time.
So what's another big red flag that you would look
If it's skill set specific, go look at if they're actually doing it. As in, like, if
define
they're teaching
skill set.
Facebook ads,
Okay.
go to the ad library and see if they're running Facebook ads. If they're saying Instagram shoutouts is their big thing, go look at their Instagram profile. All you got to do is go to tagged. They should be nonstop running shoutouts. If they're doing sales teams, they should be constantly talking about how much money they've made their clients and their big clients, so that you can go and then go see the team and see, hey, cool. You don't have to talk to them, but you can go see if the team is successful or if they're yipping about stuff that's not working.
Yipping.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
That's my old man white voice that comes out.
Yeah, the old Canadian man. By the way, for those of you playing along at home, university is Canadian for college.
Yeah, true. That's correct.
And honors, I assume, is major.
Well, there's
Something like that?
majors and honors is just like academic
Oh, okay, got it.
accolades that you get for doing.
So you're just being a smart guy.
Yeah.
Nice.
I thought I was being a smart guy.
Yeah.
I traded in to do 4 more years of business now.
Yeah.
This.
So you actually, now, did you like know that you wanted to be like a business sales marketing guy growing up, or how did that kind of, what was that like for
I'm
you?
in the unique position of always having known I wanted to own a business.
Why?
In the sense that, well, because my family grew up fairly poor.
Okay.
And in New Brunswick, so there's not a lot of people. Like literally, I was 15 minutes out of a town that had like 9,000 people in it. So I was in the woods with like 20 people, and then a town of 9,000. And it was really small, really not a lot of opportunity, not a lot of money. And when you listen to your family complain about things like child support and bills and stuff your whole life, you look at the TV and you watch TV and you're like, okay, who are the people on the TV with money? Well, I wasn't watching Harvey Specter yet, so I didn't know about, lawyer. I just saw that every TV show, it seemed to be the guy that owned the business.
Gotcha.
So that was always from like 10 years old.
So were you like the 10-year-old selling popsicles on the side of the road or whatever? Or when was your first foray into entrepreneurship?
The first thing I remember was in middle school, which would be like 10, 11-ish, right around that same age. We would have this canteen that would sell all these chocolate bars and stuff.
Okay.
And it was just a big grouping of people waiting for the bus. It would close right before that. So I would get out of class early, buy up all the candy bars so nobody else could buy any of the candy bars. And I'd go to the thing, it was shut down, and I'd sell them for like 3 times as much.
Nice.
Because all the kids would get money for their lunches and stuff and for those snacks, and then they couldn't buy them. So they'd come and they'd buy them.
Where did you get like when I was, you said middle school, so what, like you're 12?
12.
Something like that. When I was 12, like my first job was caddying, okay? Very not business owner thought processy, right?
Yeah.
So it was like only until maybe like 2012 did I really start to really kind of understand what a business did. You know what I mean? Like it sounds a bit dumb, but like it was, I didn't know.
Yeah.
And so did you have a natural propensity, just like, it's logical, like buy it for 1x and sell it for 3x, make the spread, like no shit. But like, I could have done that. It didn't even dawn on me, and there was nobody around me to like be like, hey, this is a thing people do. Where did that come from for you?
Watching TV, honestly, and just seeing that. Honestly, man, it was, and then what does that mean, right? And what do I have to do to start doing that?
Yeah.
So it was that, and then it was mowing lawns and just adding more and more mowing lawns, and then university. Like I said, the whole dealership thing happened because I just was like, okay, what am I going to sell now? There's other things that you could sell, and then there's, cars. So I maxed out a credit card at like 17 like an idiot. And that ruined my credit for a long time. Because when you're a kid, you're like, okay, buy, sell. Buy, sell. Well, what if I don't pay off the card? I get that much more profit this time. Okay, cool. Let's do that and keep doing that. And this doesn't matter. Yeah, kids, pay off your credit cards. But yeah, that's how it kind of evolved.
Okay. And were you always kind of a natural salesman kind of a guy, or how did that develop for you?
People have always said I don't fear public speaking at all. And people have always said I'm a natural salesman, but I don't really believe that. I believe in the sense that like I work with realtors a lot, so I shit on them a lot. Like every realtor usually comes out, they have a certain personality type, so they're okay at talking and they're usually all right with public speaking. And so therefore they think they're a great salesperson.
Okay.
And so like I can sit in a room with a person and have a little bit of charisma. And if you talk to me long enough, I know how to direct a conversation and I can probably get you to where I want to go. And that's how I did marketing agency stuff in the beginning. Cause I wrote it was 10 years ago. I read the, Internet Marketing for Dummies book. And then I went out and sold that shit to people. Right? Yeah. And so like, I sat around and I talked to people. I became a good salesperson by talking to people. I became a good salesperson by living in an uncomfortable place a lot.
Yeah. What was it that led you? Because there's a lot of people that understand, they're probably watching this and understand that logically they know they should go out there and do that, but they have, some sort of a pullback in them. Did you deal with that? If so, how?
For the public speaking or for
just getting out there and not being afraid to talk to people?
I will be honest, I've never had the public speaking thing where people don't like to do it. And if there's one thing, I shit on university and college a lot, but if there's one thing that was really good in there, it was they have communications courses and they put you up in front of like 50 to 100 other people and they're like, do this, and they critique you and they're like, do that kind of stuff. So it's like taking a perfect webinar class before that was even a thing, right? Okay. It wasn't a structured, but it was like, get up in front of people and do this kind of stuff. So I was already, pitch ready by the time I got out. And then, like I said, I didn't have any money really. When I moved out to Vancouver, I needed to get out and talk to people. Yeah. This is crazy how many people you'll talk to when you need to go out and talk to people. And that kind of just, it can snowball, right? Yeah. It can create something where you're like, okay, like I was cold calling in this thing called the Yellow Pages. Remember that? Yeah, knocking on doors and literally walking around my block to cafes and every other little business I could do. And so, just a lot of, it was a lot of experience. The first couple of times was no good, but it worked out eventually.
Now, did you have anybody in your life during this time that was an example or that was mentoring you? No. Or how did you keep yourself going through that?
I can't express how much I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur and how much every time I drifted from that, it felt like a failure. So anytime I felt like I had to go get a job, and look, if everybody out there listening, right, eventually you're going to hit a bump, you're going to lose some clients, and you're going to be like, I have two choices, go get a job or move on. And I'm not saying jobs are for people. We need people to do jobs or the whole world can't run. But for me, it was just an unacceptable failure. I feel like a success as long as I am earning money from my own efforts. Even if when it was like really low and it probably was still considered poor and all that stuff, I still felt great about it. I felt like an absolute piece of shit when it wasn't like that.
Got you.
That kind of drive from an early age. Like I said, a lot of people don't know what they want to be until they're like however old. I was from 10 years old. Like I got to own a business because I got to not feel like this. And that was it for a long, long time.
Interesting. Because I know that's so uncommon. And now the people that you guys coach and deal with, that's like the abnormal outlier, right? Yeah. So how do you then relate to people who are dealing with those types of things and do find it more challenging to get out there and do stuff?
I tell them to go watch my videos from like 6 or 7 years ago. Because I get this comment a lot. I'm like, well, I don't have an audience yet. I don't have anybody that's liking my stuff. I feel like I look and feel like shit on camera. I'm like, cool, go look. I was like, first I say, how do you think I feel and look on camera? Oh, you look good. You're great. You're feeling great. Cool. Well, you're looking at that through a filter. And I think this is a huge communication thing that people don't understand, right? Everything you say is said through the filter of all your experience and all the stuff you've accomplished and where you're at in life. If you have money and stuff and all these things and you've done all this stuff, you can say things to people in a different position and assume that they get what you're saying, and they receive it through their own filter and it goes back into them in a whole different way. And this is another problem, I think, with that kind of stuff is that, you're clashing. You're like, oh, well, the student didn't do what I told them to do. No, you don't understand what you said to them, right? And so in this situation, I've tried really hard over the years to hone those communication skills. And so when I talk to students, because we help all the way back to like zero. Like I've had people give us their last money to do it. And I feel very responsible to that. Like I'm not just trying to grab every dollar from you. I will only do that if you say the right shit and you make the right commitment. And sometimes that means being okay with talking to yourself. Yeah. Being okay with not having an audience and just practicing and just doing it. And then eventually you sharpen those skills, you get a little bit better, you get a little bit more engagement. You learn how to talk. And if you have the right person beside you, it's a lot easier.
I would agree wholeheartedly. I think, and you and I have talked about this, and it's kind of part of the theme of this show, is I think out there for people who want to be successful and be financially independent, whether it's being, a business owner or just being a high commissioned somebody, as a sales or appointment setter or media buyer, whatever, right? The severe departure between what they think it takes and what it actually takes. At times I struggle to communicate that because it's such a grand chasm.
Really?
I'm curious if you can speak to that a little bit.
Oh man. First, I'd say emotional IQ and troubleshooting ability is going to be anybody's biggest thing. They think it's going to be all these like skills that they learn along the way, but I tell you, like a lot of people can be good at these things that you're trying to be good at. There's a lot of good salespeople. There's a lot of people good at marketing. There's a lot of people who are, fantastic at HVAC and really good dentists and all of these things that you guys want to be as business owners. It's being able to take a hit, like I said at the beginning, when I took that hit, and just being like, okay, cool, I can't, this is it. We got to shake it back off and figure it out. Yeah. Because that takes both emotional IQ and problem solving ability. You got to be able to stabilize your mind because you'll freak the fuck out. I've done it a bunch of times, freak the fuck out. And then you got to come out the other side and the clarity and knowing your approach to obtaining clarity, getting rid of the cortisone levels, your stress levels, because you cannot be reactive in entrepreneurship. If you take these quick decisions in the middle of the heat and everything starts to go to shit, that's when everything will fail. Right. And so I tell people, newer people who are struggling with that you really got to zone out. And one of the things I've talked to you about a lot, at least a few times, right? And what we're doing a lot right now is stop chasing the higher highs all the time and start setting the higher lows.
Yeah.
And that has such an effect because what happens most of the time in entrepreneurship, you have a really good month and then you have a couple months that are lower and they might even go lower and lower. But if you really look right before that really big month, you're actually still higher than it if you're doing the right thing, but you're just lower than the high month. And then it's just your emotions get all over the place on that graph. But if you look at it from the bottom, you're like, wow, I'm steadily making progress. I am actually doing amazing.
Yeah.
You start looking at it that way, it can really, really help, especially in the beginning, because man, do they ride that roller coaster.
Yeah, I would say too, because you and I have, so I got my sales start selling Cutco kitchen knives. Okay. And then from.
So we're knife salesmen and used car salesmen.
100%. Okay. Yeah. The cream of the universe.
Yeah.
Sounded a little sexual.
That's why we leaned in.
That's right. Creamy. But I digress. So, but my next foray was basically, I was a door knocking appointment setter for energy efficient home improvements.
Okay.
And that's when tracking for me really became, I forget even what it was for me that got me understanding that, that which you measure improves and that which is measured and reported back improves exponentially. Something I must have heard just that one line in passing somewhere. I don't even recall, but I do recall going, I can control my amount of inputs on door knocking. There's no limit to how many doors I can knock. And so that's when I literally started tracking with like tallies every single day, like as soon as I knock a door, mark it down as a tally. And at the end, I just add all up my tallies, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tallies and plug them into a spreadsheet and started to understand conversion rates for a lot of different reasons. That particular opportunity didn't go that far, but in a 6-month period, I decided nobody was going to out-knock me. I got the most leads, but didn't get the most commission that's a story for a different episode. But the amount that I learned I was 500 doors a day on average for about 6 months before I kind of started to get a little bit wiser. But that's like tens of thousands of doors. And so you talk to a lot of people and you really start to understand, like most people hear that usually when I say that and they're like, holy fuck, you're like, yeah, that's about right.
It's a volume game, for sure.
It is a volume game. And I see
perceptive, right? Like just the conversion rate concept. I mean, just, yeah. I want to hear the rest.
I'm parlaying into the expectation that of what does it actually take? Because when you said something that I thought was important that, you're speaking through the lens of experience. And experience isn't, you said what you accomplished. Also, like most of my lens is through what I hit my face against the pavement with, maybe I guess I accomplished smashing my face against the pavement.
It's a good one. Top right up there.
Yeah, it's one of my crowning achievements. We actually had that picture up here, but we had to take it down and replace it with a 2 Comma Club award. Bloody face, it was a mess.
I think bloody face is probably worth more nowadays.
It just sold on eBay as an NFT. Right. They're not selling NFTs on eBay. Don't try to buy that NFT on eBay. But I think that lens of failure is like, it's where I can say, look, bitch, I did this and you've done like a fraction of that. And that's why I'm here and you're not. Now, addressing them as bitch is more of a
term of endearment.
A term of endearment. Yeah. But I think it's you have a lot of especially younger hungry guys and girls alike, men and women alike, that just have no concept of like how many I've probably talked to. It's close to 100,000 interactions in some way, shape, or form, whether it's cold calls or cold door knocking at this point. And like, that's how you get good at sales. And so, I think, and it sounds like you've had a very similar type of volume. And I wonder if you can speak to really hammer home for the people who are like, nah, but I saw this course in this ad that said I could take these 5 steps to freedom and bullshit like that.
I'd like to preface, have you ever been punched in the face?
Yeah.
Cool. Did you train MMA?
I did not, no.
I trained BJJ, I trained Muay Thai, and I did wrestling.
I'm glad you're on my team.
So I did a bunch of shit. So, I was an angry kid.
Hey, that's why we get along.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
A lot. I've meditated and stuff since then, and we'll get into that in a bit. My point is, for all you people out there, you don't know what it feels like to be punched in the face until somebody walks up and punches you in the face.
Yeah.
And so what I learned from growing up in a place where people like to hit each other alive for the littlest of things is that there's 2 types of people. There's the dude that's running his mouth and saying, I got this shit and I will fuck you up and everything's going to be fine. And then there's the quiet guy beside him who's sitting there. And which of those 2 people you want to fight is always the guy running his mouth because he hasn't yet been punched in the face. And that's a lot of young entrepreneurs running around like the shit they did is perfect. And they'll complain about courses and gurus, and they don't actually have any established success patterns yet. And they're saying this method sucks and that method sucks. And it's like, cool, man, that's awesome. Wait till you get punched in the face. Because I've now been around long enough. And this over the last like 4 or 5 years, how many coaching programs and agencies that were loud have gone under. And so, I mean, we've acquired some of them. so there's that, right? And it's like, cool, that's what it is. Like every now and then you're going to get punched in the face. And when I talked about emotional IQ and troubleshooting and all that stuff, that's why in the initial phases you should suck it up and get a mentor, because they know what it feels like to be punched in the face.
Yeah. It's
not so much to get the stuff that's the 5 steps to success. Cool. What happens when on step 3 everything falls apart?
Yeah.
Right? You'll learn it after that happens, and it happens a couple times, and you'll get through it, and you'll quiet down, and you'll learn to progress, and that's when you become, the good entrepreneur. But in the meantime, you can grab that kind of insight from somebody else. And so, yeah, I've actually not used that as a metaphor a lot, but I like that as a concept because what you're bringing up is super true. You can't really know what it's going to take until you get hit.
Yeah. And I would say, I want your take on this too, is in order to get hit, you have to put yourself in the ring.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think most people, like, you can be a guy who watches, a fight on TV and criticizes the fighters in the octagon or whatever, or watch a game and, criticize the play, but never actually be the person in the ring. And I think from what I see is there's a lot of people that understand the fighting theory or the game theory, and they can criticize it with the best of them. But when it comes down to actual experience, what do you think is it that keeps them from actually going out and getting the actual experience? And
I imagine it's terrifying, right? I feel like I have a little bit of a buffer because of where I grew up and how I was in there. So I was already ready for a fight. So when people shit on the things that we do, and look, me and Rahul, when we do the GST stuff, and when I go live on everything that I do, I have slowly over the last group of years just become myself. And man, is that ever nice. But I'll be the truth, a few years ago when we started the coaching thing more often than not, you start to think, what mask should I put on, right, to talk to my audience, to attract more people? I learned really quickly that if I just be myself, you're going to have some people that shit on it and like, you swear a lot. I don't want to be on this. Cool. Go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Fine. But like, if you're yourself, you'll attract your tribe. We have got so many cheerleaders and people that will go out of their way to be like, fuck you, man. Like they're great. Leave them the hell alone. They do more than all this shit. And it's because those are our people now.
Yeah.
And I know you do the same thing. You're yourself when you show up. And it's not something you do at first, but the more you do that, the better it'll be. And to your point, the less you do that, you're going to be stuck. You have to put yourself out there. And the more you put yourself out there, it's the internet, guys. People are going to hate on you. People call me in our ads and stuff. They're like, you look like a fucking gorilla. Get the hell out. I'm like, yeah, a refined gorilla, but okay, And so it's like, you kind of have to just take it and go, because if you're not, you're going to hide in a corner. Just be happy with exactly the size you are, because it's as big as you can get if you're not willing to take on the haters as you go along.
Why do you think it's so difficult for people to just be themselves?
I think it's natural to immediately, because you're trying to sell. The point when you first go live and all this stuff, you're trying to sell. So you're like, okay, how do I sell? What do I say? How do I act to attract my customers? And so it's counterintuitive to try and just sit there and shoot the shit.
Yeah.
Right. But when you're good at something, which I believe all of us are good at things now, we can call ourselves experts. I put in the 10,000 hours into a couple things. I can shoot the shit about things that are going to help you, and I can do it in my own personality now.
Gotcha.
Like I'm not gonna like, I get told to slow down all the time. I can talk fast, and I swear those are things that are gonna happen, right? But then you end up in situations like last month. We had a really interesting situation. Actually, 3 months ago, we had a girl come on and said to us, like, there's too much male energy in here. Like, you guys,
a team member or a client?
Oh, a prospect.
Okay.
Trying to sell. They were on one of our lives, and they were like, yeah, too much male energy in here. Since then, we've closed 25 women. And there's sprung a whole thing called the Ladies Wolf Pack, because we do wolf packs and I think a whole side group, not on purpose. It was just a weird universe thing where somebody came in and said, you guys can't talk to women, you can't sell to women, and everything you're doing is more male driven. Now we've got a whole group of girls that just are our biggest cheerleaders. It's just funny how that works out. And it's just because we didn't change ourselves at all. Yeah. We just showed up, and then the right people came along with it.
It's so funny you say that, because I've gotten much the same. I mean, obviously, like our branding is like, black and blue, kind of more masculine, right? It's bulletproof entrepreneur, for God's sake. In our Kevlar program, one of what I hope will be already a great case study from our titanium membership. But she is 65 years old, a fitness basically competitor, and has like 110,000 followers on Instagram, and is crushing 50K months.
That's awesome.
And she comes on to our highest tier program, and she's just like, I just want to go faster. And I'm just like, how do you best like to be coached? I always ask that question. She's just like, give it to me straight. She's like, I don't have time to fuck around. I'm like, I love this. Like,
she's in a rush. Yeah. Limited time to go.
Yeah. So I think you're right on that. And it just like that one, I'm just like,
I love that.
That's awesome.
I love it. I mean, I maybe it's just a shift in the industry, and kudos to the whole industry. Maybe there's just more women now just coming through, and that's a natural thing that happened. But the timing of it for me couldn't have been funnier.
Yeah,
I just find it hilarious.
Yeah. What would you say is the definition of being yourself?
Well, how do I be? Well, for me, it's not putting on a filter. That's the main thing. And look, I get it out there too. It's a comfort level. I'm on camera so fucking much in front of so many people. Like every week we do like at least 50. Every month we get a 300 person thing. Like it's a lot. So I'm now used to it. So I can sit here and be natural. And so look, when you're starting out, I'll preface it by saying, be okay. Like, you're going to stutter. It's going to be uncomfortable. You don't know where to look. I still look at myself. We talked about this before this. I still look at myself on the screen. I don't look at the camera. Thank God for AIs coming out that changes that. So it makes you look at the camera. The camera. I'm going to put that into use right away. Right. But just develop your own habits. And you're going to hear people tell you, all this is for you guys out there, right? Do this, do that, do whatever. Like, this is the right way to do it. Just find what you're natural at. People have told me forever, Cody, look at the fucking camera. Stop looking at because I have all these screens and all these setups. So I'm looking at myself, or I'm looking at the people who are are in the Zoom, and I'm just doing that. And they're like, look at the fucking camera, man. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do what I do because it feels natural and everybody seems to like it. So let's just progress that way.
Yeah.
Do the same thing. And that'll be you being natural. The more natural is the same thing in like, you know, we all have appointment setters. We all have closers. The worst thing I tell them, look, you have two phases in your career with me. One is going to be where you read the script, and then immediately when you're good, you're going to throw the script away and you're going to fucking look at it again. I don't want you reading the script. I want you knowing the framework of what you're doing, and then I want you understanding how to be a person.
Yeah.
That's the same thing with being live on camera. It's like first you're going to be going through the motions, getting used to it and all this stuff, but eventually be you. If you don't know what that is, I don't know. Go meditate on it.
B.
Oh, B. Wait. B. There we go. B.
Right. It's a happy accident.
Yeah,
you know?
It worked. Just
yeah. It's one of the most challenging things for people to do is just be themselves with no filter. And then that's why my next question on that is, how do you know if you have a filter on or not?
I'm very perceptive of the way I used to do it, and I can tell for myself now.
Was there a time that you didn't, that you were like super filtery and now you're not?
I mean, it's like when you're playing poker, right? Did you play poker?
I have, yeah.
Have? Let's answer. I don't.
I mean, like I don't currently actively play poker.
All right, so but you'll understand this concept.
Yeah.
Poker players go through like 3 phases. When they're a beginner, they're great. They don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
So everybody else is all shocked. They don't know what the fuck they're doing either. They do great. And then they learn some skills and they suck. Like just immediate tank. It's the same in golf. You play a lot of golf, right? Yep. As soon as you try to fix your swing, boom, down you go. But then you pick back up and you become good. That's what I would say for video. It's like when you're first on there, you're probably just like, you're probably being yourself. Honestly, you should turn it on. You're like, nobody's watching. Maybe you're a little nervous, but then you're like, Then somebody gives you some instructions. So here's the perfect webinar script. And you go watch Cody and John on their videos, say what they're saying. And so you're like, okay, I got to learn how to do this thing. So you do that and you start to fall apart. That's where the filter comes on.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I gotta be John. I gotta be Cody. These are my mentors. They make a bunch of money doing this. I gotta do what they're doing. So you listen to like my tonality or my speed or the words I'm saying, and you start to try and say those. And then eventually you find your own voice and you go that way.
Yeah. What's in terms of being yourself and influence and persuasion, is there what do you think is like the biggest misconception that people have in terms of, sales persuasion?
Well, this is going to shit on a bunch of salespeople because I love the trainings, but I fucking hate how much it's like, ask this question and ask this question. Like those questions are somehow going to be like keys that just unlock all the mysteries of life, right? Like, I don't think enough people tell you to just shut the fuck up. Like, if you're going to ask the question, then listen to the answer. You don't need some roadmap where you're going question. I tell my salespeople and my setters, because I look at these conversations, I'm like, you drug this conversation on forever. Yeah. Like two things in, they said, this is what I need help with. Why didn't you just say, well, cool, can we hop on a call and help you with that? Or give them a training that helped them with that and then follow back up? What was the point of all the rest of that nonsense? What did you accomplish other than wasting time and giving them an off path to get out of there? Yeah. Right.
So what do you think in the, let me zoom out on this one too, because I kind of want to go broad in terms of being successful in life, whatever that is for you, for those of you playing along at home. What do you think is the number one lie that gets sold about success?
Oof. Would it be weird as a person who invests a lot of money to say investment?
No. Tell me what you mean.
I think that so many people, crypto did this with the 100Xs and the 1000Xs and the things, and everybody who doesn't have money yet thinks that investing could be an alternative to cash flow. I'm a very huge proponent of saying, like, invest in your high value skills, make money, then invest that money. Don't take your $100, the last $100 you're supposed to go pay rent with. If you're going to have to spend it on anything, spend it on somebody who can actually teach you how to create a job for yourself. Yeah. Don't spend it on the crypto thing, hoping it's going to turn into the 50 grand you need for this year. Yeah. That's like, it's gambling. It's stocks, even real estate. If you make like your first 50K, but you have no way of making an additional 50K, invest it to create something big. Have money that's sitting aside, like have your nest egg ready to rock, and then have money that's sitting aside, because investment can be a huge multiplier. But if you're not looking at crypto and shit and you're actually being realistic about it, it's a huge multiplier of a huge nest egg that you already have. So the number one, the lie that's being sold now, it's almost like the lie that used to be sold in the other 20s, though back in the 1920s. Like, hey, you don't really got to get rich. Yeah, you just do this. This will get you rich. But if that's true, it's a giant Ponzi scheme and everything falls apart. And that's where all the kind of lies seep into your behavior. They seep into your expectations, and it starts to ruin things. That's why you see all these weird cycles that people have been going through the last like 3 years.
Yeah. Why do you think that lie gets sold?
Easy money. The same reason any easy money lie gets sold. It's easy to sell.
Yeah. Got you.
The easiest thing that's ever been to sell. I can make you rich.
Why do people keep buying it?
Because it's an easy thing to buy into. I mean, if you could really do it, fuck, sign me up.
Yeah.
I'm ready right now.
So speaking of easy money, I'm interested in your answer to this question. In business and we'll just say success in general, what feels illegal but isn't?
Oh man, what feels illegal but isn't? What if you toe a lot of lines? There's a lot of shit that could be illegal and legal at the same time. What feels illegal but isn't in business? Man, oh man.
Maybe specifically our industry.
There's a lot of people that do illegal shit in our industry, so we won't dive into that. What feels illegal but isn't? It's community-driven results. It's having access to people that will just buy your shit. It's having a skill set that could be used to manipulate people but shouldn't.
Tell me what you mean.
I know you had Eli on here. Eli's a good friend of mine, and we talked about this a lot when I was at his place about how influence can be used for good or for evil.
Yeah.
And I think that therefore it could be viewed as legal or illegal, because you could get people to do whatever you want if you talk to them, but it's not fair to them. A lot of us work with people who are in maybe not the best of situations, and so there needs to be a level of honesty in coaching and in mentorship where it's like, I don't think you're the right fit. And I think me and you have done a really good job of creating something like a lower ticket thing that still helps them, meets them where they're at, and progresses that. But a lot of people don't. And they use that kind of skill where it's like those questions and funneling the conversation, and you kind of start acting like Jordan Belfort and just like drag them along the line, and you get them there.
So what I'm hearing is your answer to the question is really having incredible persuasion and influence skill.
If there's anything we all learn, and it's a big market, it's that. Yeah. And I think some of us don't use it the way that it should be used.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to sit there for a second, because your whole, as a marketing agency, as a marketer, as a salesperson, as somebody who is your job, your entire job is to get people to do the next thing that you want them to do and interrupt their day a lot of times to get them to do it. Whether that's an ad that they click on, or even a sales call, or even after they become a client, getting them to actually get shit done. What are what's like the number one principle that you've learned about getting people to do something that you want them to do and influence them to do what you want them to do?
Meet them where they are. And always have a carrot that gamifies the attention. So something that we've really done that we've walked away from before was when we first started, it was all about, make money quick, make money quick. It was the wins were supposed to be, where do you get your first client? Because that's what everybody wants. Yeah. We've created a system now where we dangle the carrot to gamify attention to actually progress through some milestones. So you get to the point where you can make money. So meaning like you have to set up this system. You have to spend some time with us. We give you an accountability coach. We give you this, that, and the other thing, templates. Once that's done, we celebrate. We take a minute and we digest, right? And we get away from learned helplessness, and we sit there with this information and we use it. And the next step is use it, and then actually do it consistently, and then we celebrate. And then just as a natural byproduct of that, you make money and you get clients, because now you've been motivated to do the first most natural thing. Then you get to that next part.
Tell me more about the meet them where they're, what do you mean by meet them where they're at?
Okay. So we're high ticket coaches, right? And this is something that me and you have both done. We haven't talked about this yet, but I helped John with his marketing department. And so this is something we've both done in both of our coaching programs. And it's been fantastic. I mean, I think it's been great. And we've switched from a funnel concept to a flywheel concept. And I talk about this a lot, but the concept before was funnel everybody to this point and then sell them a high ticket product. And for like the last 2 years, that's all people have said. Raise your prices, raise your prices, raise your prices. And I was like, okay, but I have a giant audience of people who want help but can't get there yet.
Yeah.
So do you.
Yeah.
Even bigger, just a giant audience of people who are just leaving behind because of the structure of the funnel.
Correct.
So not without even really meaning to, because we didn't review the flywheel concept first. It was just implement a lower ticket product that worked really well, and then we did the same thing on our end. And since then, I've realized what it's done is it's, if you look at the flywheel instead, which is beginners, evaluators, regulars, and champions, we now have a product for every part of that. And so now we're taking this and saying, cool, free group, then low ticket membership, then our high ticket product. Then they become champions because we do good fucking work, and they would do student spotlight interviews and all that stuff that funnels back in. And suddenly everything's feeding itself.
Yeah.
But back to your point, we're also not leaving anybody behind.
Yeah.
So like every single person my setter talks to, every single person that my team talks to, right? You get this a lot. Like, I don't want to be sold to DMs. Fuck you. I'm like, cool. Send them this free training that they'd have to pay somebody else like $5,000 for. They'll get into our group. They'll watch the training. And if they never talk to us again, whatever.
Sure.
So my whole approach to the sales team now is help people, because salespeople want to sell. So I tell everybody when you come on my sales team, like, we want you to sell. We need to make money. That's the driver of the whole business. But if you don't have a little bit of empathy and you don't actually exist in a bubble of every fucking conversation we have, you can help somebody, because now we've got the flywheel. No matter where they are, they can get helped. And by the way, as a byproduct, you're going to make more fucking sales.
Sure.
Because as I mentioned before, implementing this is actually, we've 90% close rate over the last month doing this. And so you can push them. People who say fuck you and they've been burned by coaches and they're like, I don't want to talk to people, you put them in the free group. Or if they're absolutely broke, put them in the free group. They don't know who you are yet. I get it, man. A lot of shit out there. Fine. Go see who we are, or don't. Whatever.
Yeah.
But at least we can help them that way. Then you progress them to the lower ticket thing, which is like, if you don't have the money to invest in a high ticket program, and if we're honest with ourselves, we know there is a specific type of person who's ready for that step.
Yeah.
Prior to this, sometimes you'd force square peg into round hole.
Yeah.
Then and it creates headaches. It creates problems for them and us. And it's like, cool. This is much better. This is like, well, go up here, man, because this is all focused on the first few steps to get you your first clients, your first things, your first success, so that you can then scale. So for us, it's called, VIP, and then launch, and then scale.
Okay.
So it's like you're launching your business. When you're ready to launch it, then you're scaling your business, and then you're going to that next level.
Sure. So what you're saying in the interest of keeping it kindergarten for somebody who has no idea what the fuck we're talking about. Essentially, it's if you have a business and there's certain people that aren't necessarily ready for one of your products, have something else to sell them that they can be ready for, and meet each of your prospective customers where they are and what level they are, is what you're saying. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I like to give credit where credit's due sometimes. So I give credit you for the platinum thing, was great. And there's this lady called Ashley something on Facebook, and I saw her post one time. She does a lot in credit repair or something courses, but she did a post meeting people where they are. And all of her mentors were telling her raise her prices, but she's like, most of my audience can afford this.
Yeah.
And I do shit tons of revenue because I created a product that actually helps them where they are. That to me is huge. It's because we were all doing that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why are we so against? If you create boundaries and create something scalable, then the low ticket thing can still work as long as it's a first step into the higher ticket platform.
I think too, the concept of meet them where they're at. You took that in a place where it still applies. I'm curious too, where, because you write advertisements, you do our advertising. You've written, sales scripts, sales letters. In all of those, you have to meet the person where they're at. In resolving a conflict with a friend or your spouse or a kid, it's meet them where they're at. So I'm wondering if you can maybe shed some light on what you mean about meet them where they're at in that context as well.
So every piece of advertisement we do now for you and for us is to fuel a part of the flywheel. So I want to view it like a water wheel, where you're pumping water into different parts of it, and there's current on the bottom, and there's water coming in up on the top. The water on the top is fueling what part? The evaluator. So it's a free group. So what do? A lot of group growth ads, man. And those group growth ads are focused for us. We did one of our weekly trainings on 30 days of content in under 60 minutes. And people fucking love it, especially the newer folks, because that's their headache. How the hell do I create content? I know I have to. I look at your content, Cody, and your content, John. I'm like, it looks great, but I don't have time to do that every day. Let me teach you how to do it every day. Quick, easy way. Meet somewhere they are. We got a few others, like an ad vault and a couple other things, and that fuels the top. And then we do masterclasses, a mega event like every month, which progresses both groups to the next.
Yeah.
And so for you, same thing, group growth ads meets them where they're at. But it's understanding once you have that built and you have the products that help people and you have your sales team bought in, which means if you leave that conversation and they're not ready for the high ticket, sell them into the low ticket thing and then nurture them.
Yeah.
And if they buy into that and your whole system is doing it on the way, there's no way to go but
grow. And tactically too, in terms of where I think I'm going is like on an advertisement or on a conflict resolution. It's like, hey, I know you're here. Hey, are you this person? Are you right here? Are you feeling sad today? Do you want to feel happier today? I've been there too, you know, and I think that meet them where they're at. When you're talking about emotional IQ, I think that goes like the way I explain it is be interested, not interesting.
Yep.
And so a lot of people, I was actually out, I played golf yesterday with a buddy of mine who plays professionally and his other friend who's a pro. Is a pro golfer, for those of you who don't know, you have to pretty much get sponsorship money because there's no like salaries and no like leagues that you join, like, you know, hockey or basketball or whatever. It's like MMA to a degree where it's like you don't get paid unless you win. And so making it is really challenging. And so you need a lot of financial help because golf's an expensive ass sport too. And so anyway, this kid was asking me, hey, I have some people that are interested in sponsoring me. What do you think of my pitch? And I'm like, before you even continue talking, wrong question. And so I think, especially for those who don't, like, if you're watching this and you have a job or you're trying to get a job or you're trying to start a business or you have a little baby business, or hell, even if you're doing $100K a month or $500K a month in your business, a lot of times we can forget and start pitching what we think is the thing that they want based on our logic, sitting in a dark room, coming up with the genius idea. And that's exactly, in my experience, how it doesn't work. The example that I use is, and I told this to the kid yesterday, I was like, you going and coming up with a pitch to a rich guy is the equivalent of the way you go to a restaurant and the waiter comes up to you and instead of handing you a menu and asking you what you want, he starts pitching the fettuccine Alfredo, right? And he says, it's great, it's cheesy, the chicken's awesome. And let's say you're gluten-free or gluten intolerant, you have celiac disease or whatever. You're going to think he's a complete douche. Like, and so this is why waiters don't have no sales, is because they're interested in what you want. And they just write it down, they take it to the kitchen delivers it, and everybody goes, yay, good job. Whereas it's really interesting that it's such a, like, that was mind-blowing for him yesterday, you know? And so I'm like, you just need to ask these guys, like, they don't give a shit about whatever your logic is. They don't care. What they're in it for is they're not doing it as an investment. Chances are you're not going to make it. It's just, those are the chances. It's like fucking impossible to make it as a pro golfer. Like, it's just, the odds are staggering. The equivalent, for those of you who don't know, there's 125 spots on the PGA Tour. There's easily 100,000 golfers that you could plop in a PGA Tour event and they could do pretty well. So you're literally playing outrageously low percentages.
Basically the lottery.
And so, yeah. And so I'm like, they're not investing in you, you know? Like, they don't give a shit. They're going to take their millions and invest it somewhere else with a predictable return. They're not doing it as like, we're going to get in on the ground floor. Like, they don't give a shit. What they care about is helping your ass out because they like you and playing with good golfers because they suck.
A little bit of prestige and a little bit of help.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they get to tell their buddies, I helped out this golfer guy and I sponsor a guy on, you know, as a pro golfer. And that's the flex, right?
I mean, it's like I tell my salespeople all the time and the people in our program, this is the thing I told them about. Everybody wants to ask all these questions and they want to tell their story. But if they're even talking to you, it's for one reason. And if you can just figure out what that reason is, provide the answer to that one reason and build a bridge between those two things, you'll close it.
Now, why do you think it's the same way in conflict resolution? And as Chris Voss says in his book, Never Split the Difference, which I highly recommend you read, I'll probably put a link to it down in the description.
Love that book.
Is the person who has the most information about the other person wins in a negotiation. So how do you get information? Is you ask questions and be interested. Why do you think people that's such a foreign concept, and it's so challenging for people to do that and ask questions?
It's because when you start out as anything, right, you think you're supposed, like your friend, you're supposed to pitch. Your first thought is, I have to sell myself. It's not wondering why would they buy me. It's I have to sell myself. Everything from the tiny little bit of information you get in fucking school about, write a resume and make sure it looks great, and here's how you present yourself, and here's what you say for the answers. It's never like, hey, you should probably ask your interviewer these questions,
right?
By the way, no, it's never about that. So it goes to the concept of like learned helplessness. Everything in our society is actually teaching us to be helpless. It teaches us to be reactionary. Reach out for the first person or first thing that can answer my questions. Always do this thing. It's never like troubleshooting skills and understanding how to delve into another person's, situation and ask those kind of questions. None of that is taught. So you have to kind of relearn that shit. And then sales is the same way. If you learn sales at some corporation, they're like, here's your script. Don't move from this script. You do this.
Yeah.
It's not like ask a couple questions and when you figure it out, go off script, because that would be stupid to keep asking questions, right? So everything is taught the other way. You have to unlearn that.
Why do you think it's taught the other way?
Simplicity. It's harder to teach people to. It really is, like when I said earlier, there's two versions of the salespeople or a setter. It's the person who reads the script, and then it's the person who gets to stop reading the fucking script.
Yeah.
I still teach you that way. Even though I don't want you reading the script, I can't just throw you there and be like,
sure,
go make sales.
Go be interested.
Right? You have to figure it out first.
Yeah.
And then it's just that most places, don't have the time or don't invest in time and to actually do phase 2, which is make you even better. They just need to get you acceptable to make money, and then that's it.
Yeah. I think a lot of it has to do with, the fact that how the modern day school system, like the foundation of it, right? John D. Rockefeller started it basically and funded the Board of Education and said, I want a nation of workers, not a nation of thinkers. And that, I think, plays a huge part in why it's, sit down, shut up, and you're supposed to do this. Whereas in school, you're not allowed to ask your neighbor for help. Right? You're not allowed to ask the teacher what the answers to the test are. And I find it just fascinating that if you think the exact opposite of how you thought in school, like don't borrow from your neighbor, right? Don't compare notes. If you do the exact opposite, you'll be super successful in business.
Funny how that works.
And yeah, exactly. And so, I don't know, I'm just a big proponent of thinking the exact opposite of how most people think, and so far that's served me quite well. I'm curious, how does your model of the world differ from most people?
I like one of your sayings before I go any further was something like 96.4% or something of people will never be a millionaire, so you should probably try to think differently than most people. Right. My version of the world is different from most people in pretty much every way. I can't say that most entrepreneurs, look, we get in these little bubbles, right? Where we're like, everybody is an agency or everybody is a coach and everybody does exactly what I'm doing. That's not true. And as soon as I go out into the world and I talk to my other friends and the other people I know, I'm blown away by the limitations they place on themselves, by just the thought processes that they go through, right? And it's just
give me an example.
Money scarcity is a perfect one. You couldn't pull $1 out of a person to better themselves because they need it for X, Y, Z. They need it for that next, big purchase they have or that rainy day that's coming. You can't make a person struggle on purpose. And even in our bubble, entrepreneurs, by the way, some people will not do it. If there's anything, there's two things, two main mindset issues I see in a lot of people that I think differentiates the success from the other beyond the troubleshooting and stuff I already talked about. Money abundance mindset, knowing that when I put money out there to invest in something, even if it doesn't work out right now, it's going to multiply in the future. And then not trying to wait for everything to be perfect before just doing the thing. I say this all the time. Don't let trying to be perfect stop you from being great. It's because I see a lot of people who are like, I'm going to sign this next client, then I'm going to do it. Or I'm going to finish this funnel out. One of my biggest methodologies, and I think I've got a course in your course even on this, is soap ads. It's a simplistic thing to rapidly test audiences, offer, copy without shooting a video, writing an ad, writing a long form copy, creating a funnel, just really, really quickly find right person, right audience, or right person, right offer.
Yeah.
Because then everything else you spend time on or investing is to improve the thing that's working. But a lot of people don't. They find ways to procrastinate, consistently procrastinate and push off the greatness. And they don't want to be uncomfortable. They just want to be comfortable all the time. And comfort is the enemy of greatness just as much as perfection is.
Yeah. And I know truer words have never been spoken. And I think even if somebody watching this is not where they want to be, they've probably heard that before, yet they still aren't thinking from a money abundance place. What advice would you give them? How do you change that?
You know, the money abundance thing comes back to the comfort thing. So I'm gonna harp on the comfort thing a little bit. The best people I know for every skill set that I can think of are the ones that are willing to do weird shit that you're not willing to do. Like a salesperson willing to ask a weird question when you could have just gotten off the phone and thought the deal was closed. A person saying, yeah, I'm all in 100%. I'm going to give you the money next week. Send me over the contract and we're going to sign. 9 times out of 10, a salesperson will be like, fuck yeah. And he'll go to his sales team afterwards and be like, close the deal, blah, 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 blah. If you got a good sales manager or a good CEO, it's going to be cool. I didn't see the charge come through. Where's the credit card? You don't have it. Oh, then you don't got to fucking close yet. Right? The good salesperson, the one that's willing to live in the uncomfortable place, says, cool, how about can we collect now? Because I want to get this started now. Because we actually can't give you any access or anything like that. You got a credit card on you right now. I can just take that down and we can get this rocking right now. Right? It's an uncomfortable question to ask when you haven't done it the first time. Because you just want to take that win. You just want to move along. Right?
Yeah.
Or the media buyer or the project manager who's talking to a client and, you know, they give you stuff to do. One person who's, you know, not very good is going to take the shit the client gave you and be like, awesome, got my shit. All I got to do is push a button and go. The good one is going to be like, this fucking sucks. And the reason you hired me was not so that you could write shit that's not going to work. So let me do my job. And here's why that's the right thing to do. And here's why you invested all that money for me to do it in the first place.
Yeah.
Right. And those uncomfortable places is how people become experts. They go from people who are just good at something to being really good at something because they're willing to push through and not take the easy road out.
So how do you get yourself to a place? So again, this is all stuff that people are like, yeah, I know. How do I get myself to push through?
That's a thing of willpower, man. You want to be good at something, you got to do the thing. I consider my real answer is, do you want to be good? Do you want to be great? Do you want your, you know, to be like Achilles and write your name in the sands of time? You know, do you want to be the guy that walks up to the other person and says, this is why nobody will remember your name? That's the answer. People will remember your name because you were willing to do the shit other people weren't willing to do. I'm not about the hustle culture. You got to work, you got to do the thing, but you can work smarter. There's only so many hours in a day that you can work. So guess what? Eventually you got to work smarter. But I am about this. So you want to differentiate yourself from other people. The question shouldn't be, you know, oh, I know I have to do it, but how do I do it? You know how to do it. This isn't a skills question. This isn't a talent question. This is just one person having the willpower to be better than the other. One person realizing that even if I push into this sales conversation and they tell me to fuck off and die, I learned something and I got a little better today.
So how do you learn willpower? Or how do you cultivate it? How do you adopt
Cultivate's better.
Okay.
Cultivate's better.
How do you cultivate willpower?
By choosing a different thing every now and then. Figure out what your vices are. I grew up, one of the first houses I lived in when I was in university was basically like a crack house. So I've watched people go through heroin addiction. I've watched people do all that shit. I never did. I chose not to. Even though they were doing it, they were my friends and they went down this path. It didn't start that way. It ended up that way. And I watched people, you know, die from that kind of shit. And that gave me willpower. And it gave me a thought process of like, I learned to draw a line in the sand for certain things and don't cross that line because I saw the consequences of that line being crossed by them. Now that's an extreme example that happened to me. That's not going to happen to everybody else, but it can be as easy as like really understanding who you are and actually being honest with yourself and making a different choice. It's really, really hard to break a habit once it's started. So if you go at it, you're like, I'm just going to be a better person. You're not. You're going to fuck it up. You try and do it all at once, it's probably not going to work. But if you just start you have A, B paths in front of you at all times. If you make the different choice that's a little harder, you start to become a little bit stronger willed. The fallacy is thinking You can't. The fallacy is the people who think I don't have willpower and this person just has it and that's what it is. There's plenty of people who were addicts that broke that shit and became not addicts. It wasn't easy. They made the choice. And they probably took it one step at a time. Another extreme example, but it's good to realize that shit can happen, because when you're sitting here wondering if I should eat that fucking hot dog today or not, and you're trying to start this path, right? Remember that it can be a lot harder than that, and it can give you the boost that you need to do it.
Yeah. And what was it for you in that situation that made you, like, what was the conversation going on in your mind where you saw them doing one thing and you decided to do another? What was that decision-making process for you? Because clearly they didn't make that decision.
No. And they were really smart people. You know, I consider myself to be intelligent, you know, not overly cocky, ego-driven intelligence, but intelligent. They were some of the smartest people I knew. And life to them looked like it was honestly pain, a lot of it. And they just overanalyzed a lot of shit, and it was just too much. And then when they couldn't get the goals they had, so it's one of those things. I never had that. I was still driven. I was doing my own thing. I was there, and they were my friends, and they just deteriorated, and I just decided not to. You could see it happening really quick. And so, you know, I just didn't want that.
Yeah.
I'd love to give a more in-depth analysis. Like I was,
so you weren't like,
amazing decision, but that didn't appeal to me at all in any way. And so I just didn't do it.
Got you. What would you tell the person who that does, it's not quite as an easy of decision for them, where they have people that they're around that are, you know, not necessarily the greatest examples or influences as friends? What would you...
Best decision I made was move on from that shit. I don't talk to those people. I don't know those people anymore. You know, you are, God, we talk in a lot of cliches. You are the people, the 5 people you hang out with. That's who you are.
Yeah.
And every like 4 or 5 years, honestly, I upgrade, or I'll buy into a new network, or I'll do whatever I need to do to surround myself with something that's better. So I've also witnessed a lot of people who hit a certain stage and they start to think that they're gods. And they just get the biggest ego because they keep the people around them that were with them when they were a certain level. And once you get to a little bit more, those people start to feed off you. And they really do nothing but pat you on the back or want from you. And it sucks to say that, but it is what it is. And if you don't get away from that, or at least expand to other people you spend a lot of time with, it can really inflate your head to the point where why are you growing any further? Like I tell students all the time, like, there's energy just as important as anything else. Like you can be really good at a thing, but energy levels, because you got to invest a little bit more of your 2 most important resources, time and money, anytime you want to scale a little bigger. Yeah. You want to hit that next level, you have to do it. And if you're surrounded by people who are telling you you're already awesome, what's your motivation to get better? Sure. Right.
Yeah. We were talking to, I had another, one of my guests, Brian Mancata here, and he had a videographer with him. They were doing a vlog type of a situation. And we had a chat after Brian and I filmed. And it was probably a 2-hour Brian and I kind of like almost ganging up on the kid because he had this idea that, and I think it's more common than uncommon, where he's like, I have more loyalty to the homies than I do anything else. Like I saw the wince in your face, the cringe. Me too, but I also think that is more the 98% thought process is like, I have the loyalty to my family, my friends, the homies, the people I grew up with.
Look, dude, I am a loyal as fuck person. I've been told many times I'm the type of person that like you walk a tight line walking to be my friend. You either want to punch me in the fucking head or you want to hug me at all times. So like, yeah, I that like I've probably left some people behind, but I've also had those people reach out to me, and if I need to, I'll fucking help them. So like I do still live by like, yeah, the homies are the homies, but you can't. You want to be in a different place. You have to elevate. Yeah. So like you can love those people. They're a part of who you are. They're your foundation. Yeah. You can still love them and outgrow them. Yeah. That's allowed to happen. You don't have to flip the fucking bird to them and burn the bridge. Sure. If they're your friends the way you are their friend, if you've got that much faith in them, hope that they understand the path that you're on and understand that you need to maybe just create a little bit of separation so that you can escalate to where you want to be.
Yeah, I think that's totally spot on. The conclusion that we came to, or at least I kind of defaulted to, is in my opinion, for me, I can't help anybody go anywhere if I'm equal to, or I'll say below them. Let's say just in financial success, to keep it simple. I can't help raise you up if I'm poorer than you, right? So if I value growth and expansion, which that's the big if, is where are your values? Do I value growth or an expansion or comfort more? So if I value comfort and not letting other people down, then especially in business, there's going to be people that are let down no matter what you do. And if you're not willing to fire somebody, if you're not willing to say no to somebody, you're only able to create to the degree that you're willing to destroy.
Yep.
And so if you are saying, I want to create wealth, abundance, growth in my life, but the homies are more important, then the comfort is more important to you, or a higher value to you than growth and expansion. And so if you want to bring the whole group up, the only way to do that is to be a standout, to elevate yourself. And the only way to do that, by definition, if you're going to elevate yourself, there has to be a separation. And the only way that you can be an example is by separating, and hopefully, like you said, they come and ask you. But if they don't ask, you don't go back and try to
we're moving
convince
forward.
them. Yeah, we're moving forward.
We got to move forward. And look, all magic comes with a price. So
what do you mean by that?
I mean that anything that happens, there's, like you said, has to be a sacrifice along the way. Every good thing, I'm a believer in, I'm not a religious person, but I believe in the universe has balance. And usually it finds a way to make that stuff equate. So sometimes you want to be better, you got to give up some of the stuff that was keeping you anchored to where you were. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I wanted to circle back to something that you had said earlier in the home run in entrepreneurship is the best feeling. Like, you really I felt some fire behind that. Why is that the biggest? I think you said it was like the home run in entrepreneurship is like the best feeling, the biggest win you could possibly have. Why? Well, I mean, look, man, I've taken a lot of swings. Like, the dealership crashed and burned. Before that, I tried some weird revamped electronics eBay store. After that, I was trying some other shit. And then, I've had a lot of ups and downs in this, but man, is it fun. There is no high or feeling or anything you get like hitting it when you hit it. Like, right now, honestly, I feel like we're hitting it, and it's been great the last few months, because like I said, we've upped our sales rate to 90%, and creating this instead of this has been nice. I'm helping more people. I can feel less people being left behind. Right. And we're rocking it with you and stuff. And me and you have been buddies now for a while and working together for a while. So I'm loving seeing you're hitting that next level too, starting to come along. And it's a good feeling, man. And honestly, you can't get that working for somebody else. You can't get that when all your effort is going towards their success. Yeah. You don't get that shit. And it's just where else can you walk up to a plate and just swing all day and know that if you just hit one, your whole fucking life can change? Yeah. Every time you connect and really connect, your whole life can change. Leaps and bounds. We went... The first time I remember really thinking that was when I had my first 50K month. Then the first time you cross that 6-figure, you normalize. Look, man, it's one of those things for all you guys out there, right? You will normalize along the way, and you've got to not do that, or warn against that, because when you start losing that, it's like you're like an athlete. We're like pro athletes. You got to enjoy playing the game. Yeah. Because when I start normalizing, that's usually when it goes like this. When you say normalizing, just for people who don't really understand exactly what that means, what do you mean? That first time. I'm gonna be coarse. That first time you get laid when you're a kid, first time you do it. Oh man, was that ever the best thing ever? You tell all your friends, you go do it all the time, and then you do it with a few more girls, and then you do it with your girl, and then you stop talking about it. Eventually, you're just this is a thing you do, and it's fun, and it's good, but it's not something you're woo. Yeah. So that's saying you're normalizing that feeling. Sure. Okay. And it's the same thing with every relationship. You get a honeymoon phase, everything's amazing, and then it tapers off. Same thing in entrepreneurship, man. When you hit that first 10K, 30K, 50K, 100K, 200K month, oh my God, right? And then the problem with entrepreneurs, especially as we get a little bit bigger and we get a little bit better at what we're doing, is we start just, again, what I talked about earlier, chasing the higher high.
Yeah.
So now you're not like celebrating anymore. You're like rate 2. Okay, what's that next fucking level? So you're not enjoying the ride anymore. You're just constantly chasing the thing. It's good to take a step back, right? And enjoy the shit that you're doing and not normalize, but celebrate what you're doing, enjoy what you're doing, and that'll drive you to do better.
Yeah. How do you, and what is your, I totally agree with you. What is your balance between, because you have to set a new level at some point. What is your balance between setting a new level and pushing for it and enjoying the ride? How do you balance? I want to
push back on that a little bit, actually, because I don't think you do always have to set a new level.
Okay.
And I'm actually considering in one of our businesses, like eventually, I think maybe we'll be fine where we are. Because I tell all of my students, I'm like, build and act as if. Meaning build and act as if 2 things. 1, you already are the business you want to be. It means have all the processes, employment, and all that shit in place, even if don't have them yet, so that you just grow into it.
Okay.
Right. And as a person, it means, what do you actually want? Because a lot of people draw a straight line. I want more freedom, therefore I want more money, therefore I want more clients. That does not fucking work like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of new headaches and new shit and new stuff, so if you want impact, you keep growing. But if you want financial freedom, you can do that a lot earlier. If you want time with your family, you probably don't want any of that shit. You have to know what is the person that you want to be, right? And so for me, we're rapidly reapproaching the 200K month thing. We've had that before, and we're getting back to it. I don't know how much more beyond that. Just to be completely frank, 2, 3 probably a month would be fantastic. We operate at high margins. I get to help a lot of people, and no one's getting left behind. And so, to be real, we might just park it and just help the people there, because growing beyond that could start to affect the quality of the deliverable. I'm preaching here about me showing up.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I might not be able to show up the way I am right now. So there's be no need. So we'll see.
Fascinating. Because you and I think I agree on, but maybe in a different way.
Yeah.
I look at it, and I had the same conversation with Icon when he was here, and he's just like, I'm going to hit a level. I'm just going to chill. And I'm like, well, there may be an episode or a video that I make at some point where I go, hey, remember when I said that? I was wrong. I'm fully open to that.
Yeah.
One of the fundamental principles that I believe that has really helped me to get to at least this point is the innate compulsion of the energy of this physical universe is to expand. And so there's an urge towards more, bigger, learn more, grow more money, is an innate thing. All nature grows and evolves for whether, even if it's just natural selection, it's what's the better, more survival inducing growth improvement for this particular species. Right. And so I liken it to a kind of a game. So if life is, let's say, a video game, when you're at a boredom line, if you play the same what's a video game? Did you ever play video games?
Play all kinds of video games.
What's a game you like?
We're looking at RPGs?
Sure.
What about God of War?
Okay, great. So you're playing God of War, Call of Duty, Halo, one of those, right?
All of those.
Let's say you had to play the same level over and over again for the rest of your life. It'd get pretty boring, right?
Yeah.
So I believe you always want to you start to get frustrated when you keep getting respawned, let's say, at the same checkpoint, and then you got to keep going through the same fucking level over and over again. And you're just like, what do you want to do? Do you want to regress and go play the previous levels again? No, you already played those. Do you want to play the same level over again? No, it gets frustrating. You're like, fuck, I'm just trying to get to past this boss or past this big challenge, past this big checkpoint to get to the new checkpoint. And I think that is an innate thing that we just have as beings, and to where I feel as, and I told this to Icon too, because he made a very similar statement, but I feel as though I kind of have a responsibility to myself as an example, and because I know that I'll get bored if I just stay at the same level over and over again. And then it just becomes more about the game. So for me, it's more the game as to why I keep, raising the bar.
Yeah.
I don't need to, but I also, I on one level, on another level, as a being in this physical universe, the innate compulsion to expand doesn't go away. So you're going to be playing a game of some kind. Some people play the game of I sold my business and now I just want to now play the game of golf and get better at golf for the rest of my life, right?
Yeah.
Or I sold my business and now I want to just go sit on the beach and get better at Sudoku or scuba diving or surfing or something. But there's always some sort of a challenge to chase, which is what keeps us interested, right?
Yeah.
So I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I agree with everything you said. That's my first part. And I fully expect the first thing that I said to not end up being true. So I've never slowed down in my life ever. And I also am I'm still young. I still have a lot of hunger for it. I'm working on other projects and shit, but God, I love helping people, which is a whole other thing. So I never thought I'd be a teacher. Man, I didn't think I'd make a very, very good teacher. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I guess it'll be interesting to see. I'll be fascinated to see where both of us end up, because we're very much on the same trajectory and very much also plugged into each other's business. So it's very interesting to see, where it'll all end up, to be honest, because I just want to help. Also, my main goal conflicts with what I just said. Yeah. Which is I want more impact. Yeah. So I don't need more money, more revenue. All those goals have been achieved already. What I want now is more happy people that are building businesses from people who actually already can really fucking help them build those businesses.
Why is that important to you?
That's why we started this in the first place. We already had a successful agency, and honestly, I give Rahul the credit, because I didn't want to be a coach. I didn't want to be a teacher. I was against that kind of shit. I just I'm good at this. Let's do this for a while. I'm good with it. But we went through a couple of courses, and I was like, man, these people fucking suck. There was a couple of people, like I've got a bunch of testimonial videos from Kat, right? There's a couple of people like that specific skill sets that were good, but most of it was like, I used to do this thing and now I'm going to teach you this shit from like 2 years ago, and that's what I'm going to do. And we're like, man, this sucks. Let's do it on the side, because we always had people coming up, because we were in networks and shit, like coming up to us, help us, show us. It's like, okay, cool. We'll just do this on the side, and it's just fucking grown. Or you do a beta launch and everybody gets success and then they love it and then it spirals. You know how that works. But that's it wasn't something I thought I was meant to be, but you end up falling face first into something that you love doing.
Well, it seems so you because some people see something that sucks and go, that sucks. You saw something that sucks and said, I can't live right now until I improve upon this. Yeah. So what is that?
I'm a builder of things. That's what I like to do, and I think you're kind of like that too. Like I see a thing, if I can improve it. I have some ADHD. I'm either completely avoiding everything, or I'm completely entirely obsessed with the thing for a little while. And that just was what I became. So it was like, oh, maybe we can do this thing. I was like, cool. Didn't fucking sleep for like 3 weeks, built out a course outline, shot a bunch of videos, built the group, built the structure system, launched the thing, and it worked, and then it just goes from there. Yeah.
So what is it that pisses you off most about the shitty thing? Is it the fact that the thing is shitty and you can do better? Is it the fact that people are, not quote being helped and you want to really help them?
Honestly, I couldn't believe how many of these programs, and this is the other part of why I don't know, because why is it such a thing to immediately exit the coaching program? It's like most of you exited the the agency or the business that you started to do the coaching program. So why did you even do it if your whole purpose was just to immediately like exit that to go do something else? Like you don't actually like helping people. You just wanted the info process. Just sell the course. Yeah. Why are you selling it as a mentorship if you're not there? Mentorship. Yeah. And so that really pissed me off, because like I said, most of the information is a year or two outdated, no matter what. Sure. And like what we do and what you do, we update new products, new shit layered on consistently, so that it's because we're doing it. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, that shit doesn't work anymore. Let me fix it and change it to the next thing. I don't see a lot of people doing that, and it just, obviously irked me.
Why? What is it that irks you about that?
It doesn't work. So you're buying into, like, you're selling as a mentor. I think we need to be, we're selling, dreams. Yeah. We're selling the end point of people's lives. We're promising to give you a better life. That's why people think that, most of them are fucking snake oil salesmen and shit, because if you're not doing it, then what the fuck are you selling? Right. Some pie in the sky lie. You might as well be the investor promising them 10x returns on your shit. And so that's what ends up being for most people. Some of the biggest names in the industry, and I love these guys, but I've seen some of the shits from like 10 years ago. Yeah.
right? It's like, well, how does that help now? I know those platforms have changed like 40 times since then. You can't even do what you're saying to do in there anymore. It's just, it doesn't work.
It's really interesting because as I at this point we've interacted and quote unquote helped. I mean, we each have hundreds, if not over 1,000 testimonials, and it's really your first 20 testimonials, you're like, holy fuck, I have proof,
Yeah.
but it's normalized, like you said. And I really start to, if I'm being honest, I'm like, do I like helping people? Of course. But I also have to look at the like, if I'm being totally honest, I'm looking at, I feel as though what is it that pulls me forward is I feel like I have a responsibility to, and it's kind of like, whether I like it or not, I'm like a catalyst. And if I stop being that catalyst, I feel as though, I imagine I'm not like a religion guy either. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just like never really, was my thing. But I imagine it's much the same experience when people say like, God talked to me and he told me that I was the vehicle for this thing and that I had to do it and like whatever. Like it's much the same type of I feel like I'm
calling.
It feels like that to a degree. Like where if I stopped or decided to stay stagnant in some way, it just would argue with that. And like for whatever reason, that is just like, that's not okay for me, Well,
I mean, it's also like, how many of those do you get in life?
Yeah.
You can go take a few more swings at the bat, like we talked about, but like the home runs, they're great because there's not a lot of them. And like a true calling that you enjoy doing and that you are just fucking good at.
Well, see, that's where it becomes interesting, is because and I'm pretty open about this, is like most of especially up until honestly, maybe like 3 to 6 months ago, I've recently delegated a lot more, which has been amazing. And you're part of that. Media buyer extraordinaire, incredibly profitable. Make sure you go hire this guy. Honestly though, there's a reason that I work with you for, over 2 years, and I have no plans on stopping, and I give you now big checks. But I guess a lot of what I do even today, even after, delegating a lot, and I just hired another assistant, and I still do a lot that I really just fucking don't want to do, And so when we say like, do you love what you do? I'm like, it's a loaded question. Do I like when people say, thank you so much, you changed my life? Yes, but also it gets normalized, and it's like, it doesn't have the same, I'm like, yeah, that's what happens with this, that's
what I do.
It's what I do. But it's not even like arrogantly, it's like, tough to, it's challenging. It's a great challenge, but it is a challenge. And I still, to this day, like this past week, I spent a lot of time on problems that what the business needed versus what I really wanted to do, which is a lot. I mean, in the beginning, holy shit, that's all it is for the most part. And so I think, do I love it? I don't know.
Do you love parts of it?
Oh yeah. 100%. What I love about it, though,
the job just becomes, how do I get to more?
Is the game.
Yeah.
I love the game part of it. I like figuring shit out. And so I think this is a vehicle where, at least in this business, and I imagine even if you open an ice cream store and you figured out how to do that, and you see people liking ice cream and you like ice cream, and like it's a win-win. But like selfishly, it's a financial vehicle to meet my financial goals and needs and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is to be unselfish to a degree and help a lot of other people sincerely get to, as you said, the dream that they want. And so it's kind of like this, well, it's not total altruism and it's not total narcissism, and it's a balance between the two. Is because
that is the best way I've ever heard somebody describe our version of entrepreneurship. It's not total altruism. It's not total narcissism.
Yeah.
But it's definitely an honest mix of the two.
Yeah. And I think there has to be, not that I'm making this about me, because I want you to respond to this,
I'm
but
going to, but I'm liking this.
because it does get to an interesting point to where I've started to really question, like, win, more money. And there are times where I'm just like, I'm finding myself defaulting to not feeling it. You know what I mean? And instead of trying to be like, I need to feel this, it's more like, okay, I'm solving a puzzle, like a jigsaw puzzle or a Sudoku or a crossword puzzle. And it's just kind of one of those where I can't walk away until the puzzle's solved. And I think that is what, honestly, to a large degree, keeps me cranking forward. But the great news is all of the byproducts of solving that puzzle, it's more money for everyone. But everybody on my sales team made more money last month than they've ever made in their entire lives in a single month.
How did that feel, by the way?
That was awesome.
I've had something like that happen a little bit the last little while.
Yeah.
Realizing how many people were paying six figures. I used to pray for that for myself.
Yeah, I know.
So to have that many people employed under that,
I have I think 5 people on my team that make 6 figures.
isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
honestly.
And so, but I'm looking at it going like it's and it really, I think it fundamentally doesn't matter as long as everybody's getting what they want. So, because you could look at all these things as like totally selfish driven, but the good news is my selfishness allows you to make more money. Right?
Yeah.
My selfishness allows my team to make more money. My selfishness allows me I got to build a great product because selfishly I want more testimonials because that sells more of my shit. And the only way to get real, authentic, good testimonials is to build a really good fucking product.
Yep.
Right. And so it's a really interesting balance of the narcissist and the altruist.
But I mean, like, you watch Friends? You ever watch Friends?
I've watched Friends.
All right. You watched the episode where Phoebe tries to be selfless. She goes around, she tries to perform selfless acts for the whole episode, and she can't figure it out.
It's been a minute, but
the point is, like, people are selfish.
Yeah.
And it's arrogant to think that you're not.
Yeah.
And so for somebody to maybe judge another human for saying, like, I'm doing this on a selfish reason and everything else that it affects happens to be amazing.
Yeah.
That's just truth, man. Like, especially, and look, I want to preface for everybody out there, like, because you just talked a lot through your filter, like we talked about before. And it might be hard to understand, but like when you go through this a little bit, and this isn't, again, arrogance, it's just trying to understand the filter, right? When you get to a part where John or myself is at, it's not about chasing the money anymore. And sometimes it's like, well, do I even need to be doing this anymore? And that's what you're describing right now. It's like, so you need to find your why.
Yeah.
And it's super important for everybody out there listening to understand that you're going to run into that. If you have the success you want to have, eventually it gets beyond, at first it's like, I got to make that money because I have this goal and this lifestyle I want to hit. And if you're trying to do good shit along the way, that's amazing. Good for you. But try to be understanding and be real with yourself, because if you're telling yourself and you're broke and you're trying to do it not for any kind of monetary reasons, you're either lying or you're an idiot. So figure that out and fix it. Once you get past that point, though, you have to figure out what is the next thing I want. So for you, it's the game. Honestly, I'm a competitive person too. It's a little bit the game for myself. I want to hit that level. I don't like being behind other people in my industry. I tell people all the time not to watch competitors. We all do it, whatever. It's the game a little bit. And it's also that I have very large other goals that, it's a cash driven business. If we get a lot of money for it, it gets to be put into this other thing that's going to help. And then I want to help people. Finding your why is super, 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 super fucking important. Like it's cliches again, man. How many of these cliches have we gone over?
I lost count at 12.
I speak in cliches, but the point is that there's a reason behind it. Right? Be selfish, be okay with that, and then help people along the way. Like, and find the things though that do motivate you. Like we had a guy the other day. He made $1 million in sales in like 2 months in the GST. So for us, that was like cool. So find the outliers and really hone in on them. Let them energize you, progress it, and then build a business.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I'm with you on that. In the interest of we've asked a lot of questions and we've presented a lot of questions that people watching or listening to this could be asking themselves. I'm curious, what is one question, the number one question that people in general should be asking themselves if they want to be successful?
Do you want it? Actually ask yourself. What I said at the beginning, build and act as if. Who do you want to be? Is the thing that you're doing right now pointed in that direction? Or is it an entirely different direction because of something that you listened to somebody else say? Because you could end up working your ass off to build something that does nothing but make you unhappy.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you actually want it? How about the people who say yes, but their actions aren't congruent?
Cool. How bad do you want it? Because then we get into what I said earlier. And I always perk up with this part because I love this shit, man. And it's not about hustling, but it's about making the decision to do the thing the other person won't. I'm going to quote Achilles again. You know, do you want your name to be remembered? Because this is why they won't remember your name. Won't do the thing. So how bad do I want it? You say you want it, but you won't do the thing. You don't want it bad enough.
So how do you get yourself to want it bad enough?
You can't get a person to want it bad enough. You either want it bad enough or you don't. You either have the circumstances or you don't. Not everybody is cut out for this. It's like asking, you know, how do I become an NBA player, right? Or how do I become one of the fucking 150 golfers out of the 150,000 there are out there?
Yeah.
You just have to want it bad enough. You said yourself, there's 100,000 of them that are good enough. What made the difference? They suffered, they pushed through. Maybe they got lucky, but they just wanted it bad enough that they didn't give up, and they did the shit the other people weren't willing to do.
I think that last one right there is doing the shit that other people aren't willing to do. One of the things that I pride, at least a decision that I made when I had kind of my rock bottom in 2012, when I kind of realized that the pro golf thing wasn't going to be my thing. And I had burned a lot of bridges to get to a point to where I was like, oh fuck. Yeah. Now I have this island and I'm lost alone on it and no boats. And I kind of am fucked. Yeah. Coming from that point, I think at that point is when I really started seeking alternative ways of thinking. Instead of leaving this planet, I decided to think differently. And a decision that I made was, I'm at least going to essentially do all the shit that everybody is afraid to do. In other words, is one of the things that a lot of people are like, man, you just have big brass balls. And I'm just like, you know what? It's a thing that I can control. I can be ballsy. I can go up to that guy and say shit and just decide, you know what I mean? Like, I can go introduce myself to that billionaire sitting there in that lobby when nobody else would, you know? And then those types of things, I'm just like, fuck it, you know, like
you're willing to get on.
I'm willing to just, you know, be fucking ballsy and go places. That's why, you know, I have clients that are way more famous and way richer than I am, who pay me a lot of money to talk to them and tell them things that nobody else has the balls to tell them. And so anyway, I think that is a thing that if I was to give any advice, aside from like go through our free course in the description of this video, because there's a way that you can actually rewire your mind to get yourself to a place to where you can take that action and not have that pullback. But is just the decision that I'm just going to do the shit that nobody else is willing to do and just see what the fuck happens.
I promise you, it'll be something good.
Yeah, at least it can't be 100%. Fucking worse than the situation that you're in now. That I do know. What question, in the interest of questions, what question should I have asked that I didn't ask?
Oh, man. I don't know. What was the TSN turning point?
The TSN.
That's a Canadian thing. What was the turning point of my life that made it go from not great to great?
What was it?
I would say investing in myself. It was hitting I had two rock bottoms. One was in that house. I didn't decide to do the things they did, but I watched a lot of stupid shit go down. I decided to get the fuck out of it and progress. And then the second one was the Italy thing. I lost a couple of my biggest clients at once, halfway across the world. Broke my hand almost, smashing it on a wall, punching it, because it's like, you know, ride the roller coaster. That's what you do.
What happened?
I came back home. I spent my last money that I had at the time on a mentor, a couple of.
Well, why did you lose the clients in the first place? What happened? Like, what led to that?
You always lose clients.
Okay.
As an agency, and that's another thing you want to look. These people were happy, they were good, they downsized. They just when things get tough, and I tell these people to my students all the time, you got to learn sales and you got to learn consistency, because at that time that wasn't the case. I'd gotten complacent, I'd gotten comfortable because I had these clients, and I wasn't chasing new clients. So I was like, okay, this will be like, and that's the thing that I think a lot of business owners don't understand. It's not a fucking job. Those numbers that are coming to your bank account today could be much lower tomorrow in a fucking heartbeat.
Yeah.
All it takes is an economic downturn. Something goes wrong on a system you're relying on. You built your audience somewhere that goes away. It can just snap and it's gone. And that lesson, again, you have to get punched in the face before you believe me when I'm saying this shit, but just try to just pretend like I'm punching you in the face right now and envision it, and you'll be able to feel it a little bit more. So what happened to me was that, and I took the decision to say, cool, I want to be better now. So in my opinion, what I did there that nobody else I think would do is I didn't turtle and do what I was already doing. I gave up all the rest of my comfort and I pushed into the darkness.
And what was that like in your immediate reaction, or did you go through
within 3 months? I was up to 25K. I'd never crossed 20K before. I had fallen all the way to 3 from 20 when I was in Europe. I'd spent like 30,000 that I had left on these different mentors to upgrade my skills on my media buying and my sales, and to get in with a couple of testimonials so that I needed to do the thing. And I used it, and then I hit the streets. And I really just cold call. We didn't really DM back then. That wasn't a thing. It was just hit the book that they don't print anymore and see who picks up.
Wow. So, gosh, I wanted to ask one more thing too. All right, we're going to go here. You are like the only person I've ever met that has a successful business partnership. I can't think of another one. So, and I've worked with a lot of people. Every time somebody starts a conversation with, and my business partner and I'm like, you're fucked. You're absolutely fucked. And you've been able to make it work. And you've also, and you and I working together, we've been able to not only make that work, but it's been very profitable for both of us. And so I'm curious, what do you feel is different about you in dealing with some kind of a partnership that other people fuck up?
I've gone through a few things. One, my family is multiple divorced. So dealing with communication skills with that kind of stuff and really difficult things when I was young helped me develop communication skills. I was a used car salesman, helped me develop communication skills. I took communication classes at university. Is there a theme here? Yeah. Then I went through some shit at that house, and you got to learn conflict resolution, and you got to learn how to communicate. I have a strong personality. I do, but I also know when to you pick your fucking battles. And I went through a couple of really bad relationships when I was younger. And then, with the business partner that I had with the thing, blowing that shit up and losing all that money, I swore off relationships. I swore off business partners. I was like, I'm going to be a single guy, making some money, doing my thing. What did I do? I went to Mexico, met my wife. I did one project for a guy, ended up being his business partner. And the number one reason it works is communication. And
tell me, what's your like number, like something tangibly that somebody can take away from this and actually use? Do you have some sort of a tactic, a communication tactic, or a framework that you can give?
Yeah, I mean, no, but I mean, look, I know communication's a broad word, but here's what it would be like. If you go listen, my business partner, Rahul, if you listen to me and him talk, you would think we would just beat the shit out of each other. Because we're strong personalities who have very strong opinions about each of the things that we do. But we also have skill sets that mesh. So he knows enough about marketing because he's run an agency for a long time to know when I'm right. And I know he knows enough about sales, and he's done sales a lot for me to just back off and let him sell the shit. And every now and then we both fuck up. And every now and then we both we don't want to fucking work that day. And the other person just shuts the fuck up and does it. And there's never been once where there's been like a score tally being kept. There's never been like, hey man, you didn't fucking show up last week, so fuck you. There's always the knowledge that like, I'm going to do that next week. You know what I mean? It's not a back and forth thing. And it's like, if you can tell when another person feels strongly enough about it that it could be an issue, just fucking back off. Put the ego to the side and back off. And don't lie about anything. Like that was, and again, going to the relationship thing, how I ended up in a relationship, I just laid everything out because I've been burned so many times before. When you're young, you're like, you hide this and we'll talk about this and we won't fight about that. And I was like, it's because I swore off relationships and business partners, and both of those things right at the beginning, I was like, here is exactly who I am. And here is exactly the things that I'm going to do that you're not going to like. And we can either progress or not. And oh my God, is that ever fucking relieving? You go from a person who's like, you know, you got to manipulate and talk because you're young and you're whatever. And it's just like, here's me, dude. Just fucking deal with it or don't. And we're going to do this weird shit and you either like it or you don't. And you're going to go to do these things and talk to these people. And this is my priorities, right? It makes everything a fucking lot easier. And it's not, by the way, easy. You're still going to have moments. But God, is it ever easier than trying to do it the other way around?
100%. So lay it all out there and put it on the table and just...
And fucking communicate.
Yeah.
I know it sounds like a broad term, but I'm going to keep harping on it because in both your relationships, and by the way, having a business partner is basically being fucking married. I talk to Rahul more than I talk to the wife that lives with me in my fucking house. Probably like, because we have to, because there's so much shit going on every day.
Yeah.
So it's the same damn thing. And when I say communicate, I really mean it. Like, don't be like, when I say live in uncomfortable places, the same thing in your relationships. As soon as it feels uncomfortable, if you shut up, you've made a mistake.
Yeah.
That's going to come back around, or you're going to bubble up in somebody. So just do the uncomfortable thing and talk about it and then move on, because 9 times out of 10, nobody gives a shit. It's a blip, but the blip can become something if you don't fix it because it grows.
Yep. I agree wholeheartedly. In fact, not to plug our shit again, but like in the course that's in the description, I literally give communication frameworks that are really the foundation of everything that we do to facilitate, because as communication goes up, growth goes up.
100%.
As communication goes down, growth goes down. In a relationship, in a business, in any area of life.
They say in a relationship too, when is it over? When they don't,
yeah,
when you
100%. And when you don't express a thought in a communication, 99% of illness is caused by stress and repressions. That when you're stuffing it and not voicing it, that will come out somewhere else as a fucking stomach ulcer or a cancer or a tumor or some other shit. So
it'll affect your business.
Yeah.
Because your cortisol levels are raised, you become reactive. Mm-hmm. Oh man, as an angry kid, if I ever learned that as a not angry adult, because when I don't meditate, when I don't go to the mountains, when I don't do the self-care shit, reactive. And that's when you make the worst decisions ever. Yeah.
Yeah. You and me both. I was be interesting to see us side by side as angry kids, because I don't know. I like me in that fight, man. It'd be tough.
We're gonna find
it would be tough.
If I was in the middle of my Muay Thai, I don't know.
Well, thank God we don't have to find out, and we can both fight against. Thank God we resolved that. Where can people follow you and find out more about what you do and how to get more shit done?
Yeah, so joingsd.com. That would be the website. If you want to find me on Facebook, my name is Cody Getchell. Very simple name. Last name Getchell. I'm the guy that has a GSD symbol behind me. And there's groups and stuff that you can find on that page. We do various stuff.
And we'll put everything in the description below.
Yeah, TikTok and Instagram too, and YouTube. Yeah, I'm doing all that stuff now. So,
my man, this has been super awesome. I know people watching this, watch this back. Repeat watch this, because there's a lot of gems in here. Cody, thank you so much, bro. Appreciate you coming down.
Thanks for having me on. It was
100%.
great.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for making it to the end, and I hope you got something out of it. The good news is I've got another one that you're going to like, and the link is right here. All you have to do is click it, and it'll start playing. So go ahead, click that now, and I'll see you in the next one.